Hi student, I'm Sukwant. I want to take 1 minute from your precious time in this video. All questions are given for exam practice. You can do your good practice and you can achieve your desired score. Thank you. I will you soon.
So happiness economics can help us get to these questions, and I'll try to give you some examples of this. Now, even though there's a lot of skepticism, originally about using this surveys what people say make them happy. The number of reason that we are getting increasingly confident in doing so. One is that their consistent pattern, remarkable consistent pattern, that determines well-being across large samples of people, across countries, across the world, and over time. Some of the basic things that make people happy, and I will show you some of these: income, health, marital status, employment status. Some of these very basic things are remarkably consistent across countries, across world. So that gives us some sense that these surveys are picking up consistent patterns. And when we know what consistent patterns are, we can look how other things that very much more affect people's well-being. The environment and equality, the nature's institution raging on living, and all kinds of other things that very much more. Last week we talked about how people recognize objects and really how well people recognize objects, given how difficult the problem is, given how objects can be seen in all different sorts of illumination, in different positions, in different angles. And yet we are able to extract that information, we are able to take the visual stuff out there, interpret it in a way that allows us to recognize all the different things that we can in our environment. Today we're gonna kind of carry on looking at that, but we gonna look at what's really a special class of objects. That's the human face. So we gonna look at how we recognize human faces and how we do it quite as well as we do. We're really expert at recognizing faces. So again we can think about how do we take that visual information and how do we transform it into a form which allows us to put a name to a face, and to do all the other clever things that we can do with faces. So I'm gonna start off again by just pointing out that it's a hard problem. Face recognition is a hard problem, and it's a clever thing we do. If you think about all the different types of faces you can recognize, and all the different types of information you can get from the face, you kind of start to appreciate how well we can do face recognition.
For thousands of years, philosophers and astronomers and thinkers of all sorts have imagined that the universe, the space around us, was rather like this floor in front of us. It was fixed and unchangeable, and things happen on it, just as people walk around. So the stars, the comets, and the planets, and the other heavenly bodies moved around and traced down their parts on this completely unchanging stage of space. In the 20th century, as the result of Einstein's work, that view of the universe was completely transformed. We began to understand that there was no absolutely fixed stage of space at all on which all celestial notions were played out. But in some sense, on the larger scale in the universe, the space itself was in the state of a continuous dynamic change. That was a prediction made by Einstein. However, Einstein was not the first person to propose the theory, and the theory was proposed by an astronomer called Hubble in the 1920s. But what are the dangers of keeping these drugs at home? There are a number of dangers. Parents should know that leftover drugs are dangerous because they may be accidentally ingested by children. Either adults don't keep the bottles properly closed and stored, or because even many kids can sometimes open child-proof lids. Patients may use the drugs after their expiration date. The leftover drugs may be taken for the wrong reasons. For example, someone may have a viral infection and self-prescribed to leftover into microbial that was prescribed for a bacterial infection. But that drug will have no effect as the viral infections. Drugs that are left over might be given to or taken by someone else who may have a serious allergy to the medicine and who for that reason would not be prescribed to medicine under the supervision of a physician. Finally, inappropriate use of drugs promotes drug resistance if the drug is taken for the wrong indication, the wrong duration, or in the wrong dosage. Todd, what can people do about this? How can the situation be improved? I think physicians, patients, and parents of patients can take steps to improve the situation. First of all, physicians should prescribe the drug only when appropriate, only in the correct amount, and only for the correct duration. Also, the physician must stress to the patient that the full course of the drug must be taken. This is recommended even if symptoms resolved before the end of the prescription, and parents of children on antibiotics need to ensure they complete their course as well. Through the 1950s and into the 1960s, the idea of the Industrial Revolution was that it was the work of some genius inventors who created machines used primarily in the textile industry but also in mining that eliminated blocks to assembly line production. Then everybody was crowded into factories and the new brave world opened up. In fact, one of the most interesting books and great classics that is still in print was written by an economic historian at Harvard who's still alive called David Landis. It's a good book called The Unbound Prometheus, which was basically that. Some of the inventions that I briefly describe in your reading, the spinning jenny, etc., refer to that. Well, and that kind of analysis led one to concentrate on England where the Industrial Revolution began, and to view industrialization as beginning a situation of winners and losers by not going as fast. Now, that analysis has been really rejected greatly over the past years, because Industrial Revolution is measured by more than simply large factories with industrial workers and the number of machines. This is the point of the beginning of this. The more that we look at the Industrial Revolution, the more that we see that the Industrial Revolution was first and foremost an intensification of forms of production, of kinds of production that were already there. And thus, we spend more time looking at, the intensification of artisanal production, craft production, of domestic industry, which we've already mentioned, that is people mostly women but also men and children, too, working in the countryside. The rapid rise of industrial production was very much tied to traditional forms of production.
Thank you for watching this video, will help you a lot, and subscribe our channel Vital PTE Academy to see more education related videos of PTE Academy. I will meet you in next video.